So let's say we have a candidate, Stephanie, passes the resume screen, passes the hiring manager screen. We bring them on site. You're in the room with whoever the panel is that maybe interviewed the candidate, doing a debrief. What are the signals that you really are trying to be sensitive and listen for that tell you there could be something really special about this person and we should extend an offer?
Yeah. Um, so uh, I'm generally looking for a candidate to spike in at least a couple of the spaces. Generally, and this depends somewhat on like the shape of PM, right? If I'm hiring a platform PM, like ideally they spike on the technical acumen interview. If I'm hiring someone who's doing very like customer facing work, obviously, like I'd love to see them spike on product sense. But I would rather have a candidate who is like sufficient, generally sufficient, but then has like a couple of spikes, um, versus someone who's like just just like uniformly sufficient, if that makes sense. Um, and it generally like aligns to like the type of PM that I'm looking to hire. I'm also really listening for flags. So, were they rude? Did they seem to be using, an LLM on the side for answers? Um, Other sort of just concerns. Was communication poor? Did they use, this is a big one actually, did they use the same examples over and over? Because then once you all get together, you realize like, oh, like they had one shining moment and then they're sort of like, repeating that same story, different angles of it. So you want to make sure to really vary the examples that you use. But yeah, so it's really like I want to see someone potentially spiking on like 1 to 2 areas. And I want to make sure obviously that they passed everywhere sufficiently, and that there were no major red flags from the interviewers. During the tropes or the final loops, or the debriefs, I'm also listening for potential bias among the interviewers as well, because we're all humans. And so, I try to make sure, like, what do I need to filter out in my final consideration, and like, what actually do I need to take into consideration? Um, but ultimately, it's really like, do they pass the pieces? Do they have structured thinking, clear communication, and are they really like users first? Do they start with the user, with the problem, and then do they tie it back to business impact, just over and over in each of their examples? But yeah, that's my high level.
Awesome. Um, we'll do a coin toss for this one. Nikki, Chantal, whoever unmutes first, you get to go.
Again.
Nikki, it's Nikki. All
Yeah.
right.
Honestly, what Stephanie just said really resonated with me. It's just, you're looking for people to do a good job on all the interviews. That's why you've created the interview process in the first place. I think we at Duolingo, again, we really care about product sense and people's obsession with product. And I think craft comes up a lot when we're thinking about if we should bring someone onto the team. And so that, comes across in the interviews. And I think that's where we often will get really excited about somebody. They'll either like crush the product presentation, and we're like, that was a really good idea. It was extremely well presented. Or they'll just give us really good product feedback throughout. And that kind of comes up when we're all debriefing and talking about whether or not someone should join the team. So I think those are kind of the big things, but we have basically like, you get a thumbs up or a thumbs down on an interview, and we do not advance you. Like, we will not hire you. I'm trying to think if I can think of one person that we let pass. Basically, you need to pass every interview. And so we have a pretty high bar. And so we just assume that if you've made it through our extremely hard bar or high bar, there's a very good chance that you're going to get an offer, because most people sort of like trip up on 1 or 2 interviews. But that's kind of high level. I'm curious to hear it. Chantal, does that resonate with LTK?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that for what I see in the market is a lot of PMs have become really good at execution because execution was king in the past, but things have shifted. Now it's about good ideas, good decision making, and still go fast, right? So that's not going away, but those two things are very important. Are you creative? Can you think out of the box? Can you connect the dots? Can you think strategically? And actually, can you actually make those decisions in a way that makes sense and is creative? Like I think those two things and collaborate, right? I think the three things cannot be replaced by AI quite yet. And so if you can collaborate well, you can influence, you're data driven and can make decisions, trade-offs, right? And you're really good at this fast and you're creative. I think you have some serious power in this market. The problem is that 80% of the candidates fall into the last one. They can walk me through. So when I say, hey, tell me about a feature that you built or something, how many times do I have to hear that I built this and I went through the right framework and then we optimized for impact? And we've all seen too many times. Like you're not going to stand out, right? Tell me more about actually tell me something that I haven't heard, right? That up front, like up funnel, like, hey, we were going to do this decision, but it doesn't make sense for our users based on the trend that we start noticing in the dashes and dashboards. And then business sense, we're going to that direction. So I connected the dots and I thought, there's an opportunity here. Now, how do I test this fast, right? Then I decided to do an AI prototype and showed it to some users that I talked to in a call. And then they gave me this XYZ feedback, iterated with design. We ran a quick A/B test. And this is the metrics that we were measuring. This is the guardrail. This is what I learned. And maybe it was not successful and it's fine. Also, another thing, if I only hear success stories in a full panel, I'm concerned. I want to actually hear I failed. I don't know, like we run this, my hypothesis was this. It turned out it didn't go that way. And that's what I learned. Like that's power. Like we've all been in tech, and I don't know about Unique and Stephanie, but I've launched a ton of products that didn't have any impact. But when you fail, you learn. So that's what it's about. So I just don't want to have like, even in a resume, if I only see like everything that I launched, 20% growth, 10% growth, I'm like, no, I don't believe that. I don't buy it. So just be real. And then also in the interview, I think that it has to feel less of an interview, more of a conversation. Like I want like a great mindset or a tip that I give candidates sometimes is just think about you're already working. Like imagine we're already working together. Like let's not, like I'm not trying to probe, this is not a game, like let's try to get you, like you're trying to get the job. Like, do you even want to work with me? Do I want to work with you? Is this happening, right? And so when we are having a conversation, if I'm feeling like you're trying to read a prompt or like something or like a STAR methodology as like, no, like just don't follow only the framework. Just tell me about something so I can understand it. And it makes sense to me. And then I can have a conversation and ask you more questions. But if I ask you more questions and the candidate starts freezing, like, oh my God, she's digging into this or something, that's not good, right? You want to be, hey, great question, Chantal. Yes, we did think about that trade-off. Let me tell you more about it, right? So you want to go into an interview with that energy. That's going to help you tremendously.